There we go. Hey, good afternoon again. Hit a wrong button. So it's normally on Tuesdays we have a legislative update with Cheri. I said, hey, could we do it today? And so joining me today is Cheri Helt. So hello, Cheri. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Matt?
I am doing exceptionally well because you're joining me and you're going to give us a legislative update. So I am super curious because we were talking a little bit beforehand about first, Oregon's been doing very well with the reduction. I know that we just no new cases as of the last 2 days at St. Charles, or is it just still as of yesterday? I don't know the current numbers, Cheri.
Okay. So yesterday, I have the numbers for St. Charles. There's 41 positive cases that have come out of St. Charles, 0 inpatients, and in Central Oregon, we have 66 positive cases. There are 1,239 negative tests that have been given in Deschutes at St. Charles, and 149 tests that are pending. And so I'm not sure how many days it's been since. I don't have that number on my graph, but I do know that this is the second day that we have 0 inpatients, which is a great thing because it means no one is sick enough to actually be put in the hospital at this moment. So that's great.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're starting to get data from a state level is they're going back and looking at all the positive cases and talking about who's recovered. So we can have recovery numbers from a state level. So when we talk about having 66 cases in Deschutes County, that doesn't mean that there are actually 66 people that are still sick.
Oh, okay. So we've got some breakouts now that we didn't have before, in other words.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to, we'll probably have these recovery numbers next week, and I'm going to ask the county if they can also give recovery numbers as well.
Great. So I also again, you shared some statistics with me beforehand, and I kind of wanted to dive into that, which is the sort of the cases. Now, this is Oregon that we're about to look at. So the cases by age, and I kind of wanted to start first with the youngest, just because I think it's kind of interesting, like you were saying, to note that this is, while older people may be impacted as far as the death rate, this is not something that just attacks the older. So I wanted to go ahead and start. So Cheri, here's your 0 to 4, just to, there you go.
Yeah, so 0 to 19. So let's start with the amount of positive cases we've had in Oregon. So far in Oregon, we've had 2,059 positive COVID cases. 57 of those cases are new today. So again, we're in that 4%-ish ratio of additional cases. And so when we look at those 2,059 cases, if we break them down by age, the 0 to 19 age range, there's been 50 cases.
Yes, and unfortunately, the graph in front of me it starts at 18, unfortunately. So unfortunately, I can't break it down, but I'm going to go ahead and add that next graph for me is 18 to 49, and you can see what is very interesting is that, again, the 18 to 49 becomes a very large age bracket. On this graphic, it's indicating, it's yellow as the 18 to 49 year, and then you've got the blue, which is 0 to 4, and then this pink, which is the very top, which is 5 to 17. So I wish they had broken this down a little bit, and this number comes from the CDC. So what, the amount of kind of up to 50, do you have those numbers, Cheri?
Yeah, so 20 to 29 is 237 cases. And then 30 to 39 is 313 cases. And 40 to 49 is 366 cases. And topping out at the largest amount is 50 to 59. And so if you look at those numbers, it's really interesting that 12% of the cases are from 20 to 29, 30 to 39 is 15%, 40 to 49 is 18%, and again, 50 to 59 is 18% as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that's really what people are thinking the spread of the age range is, because we talk a lot about the elderly, but this is a disease that is hitting all age brackets.
Yeah, it really is. And the other thing, you've got some stats too, which was fascinating. Oregon has a different number than sort of the nation within a male female percentage. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so across the nation, more men seem to be getting the coronavirus, but in Oregon, we have 54%, so 1,120 of our cases have been female. And then male, we have 927%, which is 45%. So that's really interesting because early on, the director of Oregon Health Authority kept saying that this will probably wash out because it seems to be more predominantly male, but it hasn't. And we've continued along the same path where women are more susceptible in Oregon, it seems, or are getting the disease or maybe getting tested more than men. So I'm not sure why that factor is, but it's a really interesting statistic.
Yeah, it is. It is fascinating. I noticed, I was mentioning to you that I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. I noticed that trend, and it was fascinating to compare our trends with the national average. So that's some fascinating statistics for sure. I want to kind of get off the stats here at this point in time. We've flattened the curve. Things are going well. Let's talk about something else that just happened. Well, hasn't completely happened. Obviously, it has to cross the U.S. House. But what the CARES Act? What's sort of the update on that from that standpoint?
Okay, I'm trying to pull up my email really fast on that one.
Yeah, I threw that one at you. Sorry about that, Cheri.
That's okay. Let's see if I can get that.
Well, and just, the CARES Act, and I guess in general.
It passed yesterday, the Senate, and so it's headed to the House, which is a great news.
Are they still calling it the CARES Act, or is it like CARES Act 2?
It's CARES Act 3.5, I think.
Okay.
Let's see if I can pull that up. I'm still working on that. Sorry about that. Yeah, so those are some interesting statistics about the numbers today. They're just things for thought, right? Because we don't know why, the numbers reflect more women than men, but it is an interesting number.
Sorry, I'm typing something. So I'm actually, while you're looking for that, sure, I'm going to go ahead. I wanted to dig into this. You can do that, and I'm going to just do this.
Did you pull it up?
Which was that, Cheri? I'm sorry.
Did you pull up the CARES Act?
Yeah, I will do that right now, actually. Let me do that real quick here. Let me go back to here, just so that we do that.
Okay, I have it now.
Okay, great.
Okay, so yesterday the Senate passed the bill for the PP&E loans, because we know we've run out of money for those. And this will, and the EIDL loans program, which both ran out of money last week. And this bill includes $310 billion for the PPP loans and $10 billion for the EIDL loans. And so that's going to mean a lot more small business relief, because we know that there were a lot of businesses in Oregon that applied for the PPP loans that were not accepted. And so I'm very hopeful that we can get more money into our Oregon businesses and get more of our Oregon workforce back to work.
Yeah, I know that the well drying up. I talked with Tom Schnell from Business Oregon, just earlier, and yesterday, actually, as a matter of fact. And we were talking about the fact that it just passed yesterday, and obviously it does still have to pass the House, but it stands to be some relief for some of those businesses that were not benefited. So obviously good from that standpoint.
Yeah. And then another thing that's going to be really good is the $75 billion for hospitals. So one of the things that people are not talking as much about as I think we need to be speaking about is the hospitals, and the rural hospitals especially, because we know when you shut down a business, it's not bringing in income. But our hospitals have essentially lost all the income through their emergency rooms, through their elective surgery procedures, and through many hospitalizations that people are not coming for and staying home. And so this is a crisis of twofold. One, we have patients that are not seeking care that need it because they're concerned about the coronavirus, or they're not able to because they're not emergent enough patients. And so that is a scary thing from a patient standpoint, but also a scary thing from a hospital standpoint, because our hospitals are businesses as well. And so without the income coming in and providing services, they're dipping into their resources and their savings, and they're not, we have hospitals that are talking about that they only have 3 weeks of stability left in rural Oregon, as well as up to 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a really concerning factor, because we all count on the fact that our hospitals are going to be here. And so we really have to support them, because while we need them to stay open for the crisis and the potential surge that's coming our way, and staffed and everybody employed, we also need to make sure they have the revenue to be able to do that. And so this is going to be really important. It's something I've focused a lot of my time on, is making sure we're supporting our rural hospitals. And when I talk about rural hospitals, I'm also including St. Charles, because we serve a lot of rural communities, as well as Bend, where Bend is much more urban community, but our services go across Eastern Oregon.
Yeah, well, like you said, I think it was last week, largest state or largest hospital possibly east of the Cascades to Boise, maybe. I mean, that's probably the reality. So it is fascinating. And I don't know, Cheri, really fascinating for anybody that's wanting to know more information about how hospitals have been affected, especially rural hospitals. There's a really great Planet Money podcast on actually talking about it. It's just fascinating listening to these people saying, I don't know if the reality is I have 3 employees here and I need to have them all, but I don't know because we're staffed up for a surge that may or may not come, and we've had to shut down every other thing. So it's a really fascinating conversation, and it's a really good education too. And it's just fascinating. Sorry, I just
it's well, and also too, I mean, our first responders are in our hospitals, and they're putting their lives on the line while they serve us. And it's so important that we make sure that they are cared for and that they're able to be paid, and work in a stable environment, because the stress of adding that to people who are trying to, serve our communities with the utmost of generosity on their behalf. And we've got to be really careful that we're making sure that those hospitals are there to serve people, to serve, heart patients and diabetic patients that haven't been coming in for as much care as they need. I'm really concerned about what that means in the future for these people. And just making sure our first responders know that we're there and that we care and that we want to support them through this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So we don't have a lot of time, and I don't want to necessarily get into this because this is probably a very deep conversation, and I'm going to jump this on you because we didn't talk about it before we went on the air.
Oh, but my dog did not like that idea.
He's like, no, we're not going to talk about that.
They've been relatively good through this, but now they're just sort of used to it.
Yeah. Where there's a lot of frustration, I know, and you know this, as far as the unemployment system and state of Oregon. Can you give any sage words of wisdom to people? And I don't know that there is any sage words of wisdom at this point in time, but what are you getting a sense of, and what can you say to people through this process?
Well, if you're still having troubles, if you've been denied, please reach out to me and reach out to me at my office. And I will get back to you, and I will advocate for your claims, because I think that this has just been an awful and hard situation for so many people. We've got to make sure that you have rent assistance, and we've got to make sure that you have food on your tables. And the way we do that is to make sure your unemployment benefits are paid as well as there are some other resources for rent assistance and food assistance. There will be more money being put in that tomorrow in the e-board meeting. And so please reach out if you are struggling or have concerns about rent, food payments, anything that you need. Really know that you're not alone and that we're all here for you. And I'm definitely here to help you in any way that I can. But with that being said, the unemployment insurance, over 300,000 claims have been filed in less than a month's time. And the unemployment department has a Herculean task with an antiquated computer system, and they are working diligently, but we're hoping to get 400 more employees there. At the beginning of this crisis, there was only 100 employees, and then they hired another 400, and now they're going to hire another 400. And so there will be 900 people working on the claims. I think you'll see much faster turnaround times, but there still are, most of the claims that I've been working on have come through from 4 to 5 weeks ago, but there still are some of you out there that have not gotten your benefits for 4 weeks, and I am so sorry. And anything that I can do in the meantime to help get your claim processed, advocate for you in any way that I can, help with rent assistance and food assistance, that's just really, really important. But the independent contractors were supposed to come up this week on the 20th of the month is what we were told, and that system has not been yet released. So I'm hopeful that by Friday I can share some better news, because if you're an independent contractor, things are getting really tight and difficult. I'm hoping that you've gotten your stimulus checks at least to help sustain your families and your rent and your food. And if you haven't, also reach out to me. There's some things that you can do. And my dogs have a lot of opinions about
that. They do. They should maybe be your. They should be on the campaign trail with you, being your vocal advocates, or.
Yeah, you can just see them running by the door.
I know something's got them. Well, yes, this issue has got them worked up. Obviously. Great. Is there anything else, Cheri, that you want to add? We get a couple of minutes. But yeah.
One thing I wanted to say was it's Earth Day today. And it's odd not to be downtown and doing the parade. I've always looked forward to that parade. It's a very, very fun, creative, artistic parade. And so I'm wearing my green today to represent the Earth. And my daughter has painted a poster over there for this Facebook Live cast. So we're trying to celebrate Earth Day in the best way that we can. It's just really important that we do everything. As a business owner for the last 10 years, my husband and I have put extra money every month into making sure that we had green energy for our business at Zydeco. And so we've done that for over a decade. And I think things like that really matter and are very important. I've also, as a legislator, I have voted for many different things that have been good to our Earth, like banning fracking, banning oil drilling in Oregon, banning plastic bags, banning plastic straws, rolling back to the old standards for the DEQ instead of the ones that Donald Trump put into place. So I've done all of those things to be proactive for our Earth. And I think it's really important that we are mindful and acknowledge that climate change is real and that we can do things about it and that we should. And so I'm just reflecting today on the fact that it's Earth Day.
Thank you, Cheri. Thank you very much for that. And yes, it is a gentle reminder that it is Earth Day today. But thank you for joining me, and I'll see you back on Friday. I appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Have a great day.
All right, we'll do. All right, everyone. So that's another edition of Show Up Central Oregon. I'm going to take off here for the day. Just a general reminder, if you are watching this live or in the next couple hours, it's about 4 o'clock, 5:30 p.m. on City Club. We have the candidates debate for Congressional District 2 Republicans. So, yeah, that's going to be tonight at 5:30. So remember, everyone, show up for Central Oregon. my